thing, I feel like a big thing that kind of, it's not gone entirely, but I think like YouTube, it's such a self-serving thing, and people get so used to just doing everything on their own and promoting themselves for so many hours, for so many years, that they get lost in that. I got lost in that, and I think it's really important to show support and to highlight other people who, especially people whose like we were talking about, whose voices and stories maybe either aren't highlighted or if you learn something from it, share it.
I'd say be gentle with yourself, right? Like in all regards of making video production, audience, you know, like making mistakes is okay. Things don't have to be perfect, which took me a long time to learn. And also, you know, if you need to take breaks, if you need to step away, if things get a little hot, like you don't have to model your behavior after other people. You can do what you need for your own self-care. So in terms of the whole, and I don't just mean online harassment, but of course that's a part of this, but in terms of like video production can be hard, and being on camera can be hard, and always feeling like you have to say the smartest, most important, best things ever. You know, like follow your passions, do what you love and what you want to be doing, but like, you know, don't worry about being perfect out of the gate, right? Like I started with a piece of fabric tacked up on my wall, like, right? It wasn't the most like perfectly arranged work, and I think if you have such a high bar, or if you have such a high bar for yourself, you might never hit it. So just like find someone to pull up your phone and like make a video with you. And also, imposter syndrome is real. We all have it. If you think that you can't do it, you totally can. I'm telling you, some of the like most professional people I know just sit around being like, I can't do this. I don't know why anyone's paying me to do this stuff. So like, you know, try to calm those voices in your head and just like make cool shit.
And that's such a good one. It's not a loss if you have to take a break. No one won. No one pushed you out. Like, you have to take care of yourself. That's a really important one.
So now we're going to take some questions. If you want to ask a question, queue up behind the mic, which is just the middle aisle. It goes without saying, I think, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you harass anyone on this panel, I'm not going to take your question. So if you have a question, please queue up in the mic. People going up there right now. All right, first person. Can you answer your question, please?
My name is Gina. Just had a quick question. Would you say it's kind of fair that, you know, if we spend too much time talking about all the harassment that does occur online, no one's disputing that, but if we spend too much time talking about that, doesn't that kind of take up too much time and take up too much space when we could be talking about, you know, the positive comments that you guys have received over the years?
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Well, you could do it. You have the panel right now, you know?
Yeah, but there are like 3 rows, like full rows of people. Like intimidating.
You're right, and that's the thing too, that, you know, like we did spend a lot of time talking about harassment, and I think that sucks. It would be really awesome to be like, hey, we make these cool videos, let's talk about video production, let's talk about subject matter, and the sad reality is that it's the common thread through all of our work, and unfortunately that's the direction that we went on this panel. But I agree, it would be really nice to like go to a women,
you know, that the common thread that you lovely ladies have is so inherently negative, you know. I think next time around, positive it up a little bit.
I think it's also nice for other ladies in the audience to hear how we are dealing with it if it's something that they're going through themselves. So I don't think it's a bad thing to bring up.
I think it's a yes and thing, you know? Yeah. Like, I think it's hard when you have this one place kind of to have these kinds of discussions. You almost need like a women Vidcon. Which is just like, you can talk about these things, but then you also talk about all of the different things, and everyone on the panel just happens to be a woman. That's kind of the other side of it as well. But thanks very much. Right, next question, please.
Hello. If I could, I'd like to ask this question specifically to Anita. Is that okay?
Yes. I don't know if I'll answer it.
You don't have to. I'm just curious. The various things that you've said online over the past few years, do you truly believe them?
Okay, dude.
All right, can we please remove him from the question line?
That is not harassment. I'm asking.
It's a stupid question.
Can we please remove this question asking harassment?
I have a serious question for everybody up there. Why do you guys act like only women face harassment online?
I mean, even your language, like freak out about, like no.
See, you're just mocking me.
If you
You're
talk
just
about
mocking me.
one community facing harassment, that's not to say that no other communities face
All
any
you're-
harassment.
See, you're harassing me right now when I'm.
Can we please remove this question of
Oh,
from the line?
Now look.
Next
you're
question,
doing-
please.
I'm answering.
Next question, please. Hi.
That's fine, and you know what, dude? When there's a panel talking about that, we'll talk about that, but that's not what we're talking about here today. So it's not like no one can ever talk about anything other than this. No one on this panel said that.
What's your question, please?
I was wondering how you deal with harassment in online gaming.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. How do you deal with harassment?
Harassment in online gaming.
I mean, a big thing for me on Twitch, unfortunately, is just having people removed from my chat. Like, if people continue to, like, say hurtful things to me or to other people that are in my community, then they don't get to be there. It's like what we were talking about before, where, like, this is a space that I've curated. This is my house. If someone's being rude and breaking shit in my house, then they leave, and they're not allowed back in my house. So that's sort of how I deal with it. I mean, I just have people who moderate my stuff for me. And you know, if someone comes into my chat and brings up a point, and I can tell that the person is actually trying to have a conversation, then I will have a conversation about it. But if it's just outright rudeness or like someone just being crappy to me, then I don't let it exist there. And that pretty quickly like sends a message to people that like that stuff won't stand, and so they don't even try it, you know.
Thank you.
Hi, I have two questions. Is that okay?
Go for it.
I have a question for Allie. You mentioned in one of your videos that you kind of moved over to the Twitch platform and that it's been really good. But how do you deal with sexist men, Joey? And how do you pick your battles, kind of? Because you said that you wanted to have like a dialogue with someone and have it go somewhere.
Right.
But how do you kind of pick those battles?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I honestly like it gets exhausting sometimes to talk about. So I'm just like, all right, I don't feel like talking about this today, or I know I can't handle it in a way that's not gonna kind of derail the entire like stream. So I don't. But if there's someone talking about something and I realize that it's going to be helpful for me to and cathartic for me to sort of like talk about it and go through in my head the way I feel about an issue and then present it. And also if I feel like it's going to be helpful to the people in the chat to hear what I have to say or to have a conversation about it, then I will say something. So that's sort of how I deal with it. Is like if there's a question that's asked and I'm like, oh, this is a great freaking question, or this is a really important issue, or someone brought up something that I really feel like people could use a reminder for, then I usually address it. But again, if it's just like you're ugly or whatever, it's like, okay, cool. Like I know what I look like. I'm 27. I own mirrors. Like it's fine. I don't need anyone to be like commenting on my appearance. That stuff doesn't really matter. But yeah.
My second question was just to kind of lighten the mood. What are the games that you're looking forward to in 2017? 2017 looks like it's a good year.
Yeah, it's really good. E3 is really cool.
Super Mario.
Yeah, I'm excited
Mario
for Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey's really cool. I'm looking forward to Anthem. Anthem looks really cool, and Destiny 2, obviously.
Yeah.
So excited.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Arms. Hasn't anyone played that? It just came out. I haven't had time.
It's awesome.
Oh, I can't wait.
Play it yet.
Speaking out of concern for the pigeonholing women into certain roles, have you considered that focusing so much on how women are victimized by these harassers, have you considered that this is actually focusing so much on how they're victimized that it pigeonholes them into a victim role?
I didn't even hear the end of the question.
If we focus so much on women being victims, then we're pigeonholing women into being victims.
Well, I guess we could talk about something like empirical evidence, like statistics of abuse against women.
Women
We
are
could talk-
powerful.
We could talk about that.
Women are powerful.
Women are
You
powerful. You're
You
powerful.
are a powerful
I think that
woman
it's
in
important to have these conversations about online harassment because it continues. And I don't want to be identified as a victim, and I don't think anyone else on this panel wants to be such. And this is why we're here talking about it. That we don't want anyone else to be victimized or targeted. And until that stops, we're going to keep talking about it. And I'm sure as hell tired of doing it, but I'm going to keep going because it keeps happening. So it's not happening because we're talking about it. It's happening whether we talk about it or not.
Yeah, and I just have to say that a man screaming women are powerful over a woman answering a question on a panel about women is a pretty good example.
Yeah, who's got the microphone?
I think women are stronger. They can handle being called a bitch online and not have to.
Can we have the next question up, please?
Hello. I wrote this down just to be sure. How important do you think it is to engage with people that genuinely disagree with you? And how would you define this disagreement or criticism? Or how would you define genuine criticism?
Well, when someone is criticizing me for something and it's something that's valid and not someone directly targeting me because of my gender, then obviously like a conversation can be had. That's like fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. And having a conversation with, like for me, I think the issue is not having the conversation with someone who you disagree with, it's the platform on which you have the conversation with someone you disagree with, because Twitter is 140 characters per message, that's like impossible. If I'm just making a YouTube video and you're writing something in a comment, it's like there's no interaction there, which is why I a lot of times will talk about this sort of stuff on my live streams because it's easier for me to be able to immediately interact with someone. But one big thing that I feel like I've had to do because it just turns into ad hominem attacks like 2 to 3 like sentences in is I just try to educate myself by like reading publications or reading articles or like listening to other people's stories that I know are like in direct opposition to the things that I believe, and that's how I try to like just at least stay aware of the way people feel that are not on the same side of issues that I am. But it's incredibly difficult to have those types of conversations online, which I think is why a lot of people don't do it, because it's tough.
Next question?
Rosanna, you asked a question earlier about who had a YouTube channel and who hadn't started a YouTube channel or abandoned YouTube.
Sorry. Do you want to start again? Sorry about that.
Yeah. You asked a question earlier about who had a YouTube channel or who hadn't started a YouTube channel yet and abandoned it because they had fear of talking about hard questions or being harassed. And so I wanted to ask what advice you would have for someone who was just starting out on YouTube about creating a brand and how that brand intersects with their feminism and how their femininity, specifically on the topic of like making mistakes and saying something that maybe you realized later was an issue or something that you shouldn't have said, just controversial things in general.
Yeah, I think it's hard when, there are certain topics that unfortunately, I feel like we have a whole range of genres of YouTube videos and none of them really even fit into any tight, neat genre. But there are certain topics that you know when you talk about them or when you mention a particular word, it's going to get a kind of attention. And it kind of goes back in some ways to Anita's advice about being gentle to yourself, because I think that when I was starting out, I felt really frustrated with myself if I spoke about politics and then there was a big backlash to it, not even because of what I was talking about, but because I was a woman who had an opinion on politics. Like, I would get frustrated with myself for not articulating it in a way that didn't attract all of this kind of hullabaloo, to put it the nicest way possible. So I think that allowing yourself to take pauses when you need to. You don't need to start in like a 3 or 5 videos a week upload schedule. And if you do feel like a video you've made has attracted negative attention, harassment, don't feel like that invalidates your right to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But I would say that my go-to for any time I'm starting a new project, or I'm in a lull, or I'm feeling discouraged about what I'm making, is to talk about things that I really love. And I feel like when you talk about things that you really love and you're really enthusiastic about, people can tell, no matter whether it's your very first video or your 500th video. and whether it's filmed on a webcam or in like a high production studio. And that for me is my go-to. I don't know about you guys.
Talk about what you love. That's a good one.
Sorry, I had a hard time hearing the question, but at the end, did you talk about like if you make a mistake and what to do after?
Yeah, so I'm going into a field of study, I'll be a freshman in the fall, of political science. And I'm still in the process of completely creating my political worldview. And I want to talk about things and start discussions about beliefs that I have that aren't necessarily like mainstream beliefs, and hear different sides of the conversation. And maybe I put something out there that I later change my opinion on, and how to deal with that.
Yeah, I think that that's a really, really good question. I think especially like you're going to be evolving your political beliefs throughout your entire life. And I think that folks, our opinions change as we get more information, as we get older, as we learn more things. At different levels of privilege, we have a tendency to make more mistakes and saying stupid shit until we learn otherwise. And sometimes we only learn it by being called out. I think that it's really important that we really celebrate a culture of like learning from our mistakes and apologizing for them sincerely, and then moving on from that. As long as like understanding what went wrong and how that works. So if you're talking about something like your political views might be evolving and changing, I think it's kind of cool that you're already thinking about that, right? That can be kind of the shtick of your channel, right? That can be, I'm exploring these ideas, come explore them with me. And then as you go, you can make more videos as you're evolving and changing and being like, hey, remember that thing I made a year ago? Well, this is what I think now.
Yeah.
I think that that's valuable, but it doesn't mean that there's not going to be some criticism or a little bit of backlash that may come from that, which should hopefully be more positively critical and help you grow in that regard.
Yeah, but you will also definitely see a shift in your audience as well as you change. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You know, you'll attract a different type of person, or you'll have different types of conversations. And I think that's helpful and important to you also to grow as a person, is to be able to interact with like different groups in that way.
Good luck.
Yeah, unfortunately that's all the time we've got for questions, but I wonder if we could end on shouting out women on YouTube, or just making things online who we admire that you would want these guys to check out.
Dude, I love Francesca Ramsey's Decoded.
I really love Evelyn from the internet. She is hilarious every single time. She talks about a range of different topics, from like identity to personal stories that are hilarious to Beyonce. Like, she's just fabulous. Evelyn from the internet.
I'm gonna shout out a Twitch streamer, Ammunition. She's awesome. And I love her stuff.
I watch a lot of Rose and Rosie. They're like British. They
Oh,
also
yeah,
do
they're
gamers as well. That's hilarious. Oh, and that's LGBT as well.
They're so funny.
Well, thank you so much to my panelists. Thanks for coming along. And let's keep the discussion going. Thank you.
It was Francesca Ramsey.
Where's Bird? I have to thank Bird.
So Carl, how you feeling?
Good question, sir. Surprised.
Okay.
Very surprised. Annoyed and maligned.
I can see
So,
that.
Carl, just so you know, there's already a rumor that you've been kicked out of Vidcon. No, Vern retweeted my stream.
Are you saying?
So I made
Oh, no,
it
this
very
isn't mine.
clear that you were sitting right in front of me. I was like, Sargon's right here.
Also, if you felt like pursuing it, here's the harassment policy. I underlined important sections. It's up to you.
Do you think she's already?
By definition, yeah. You didn't ask to talk to her.
Well, she did call you a shark.
Also, she openly insulted you, and she's the person that she's a panelist, and you're a paying audience member.
Yeah, very progressive. Yeah.